I'm going to make risotto milanese today. Did I say that right? Risotto milanese, something like that. And fairly, I'm not going to say it's exactly straightforward, but it's not that hard. And it's extremely tasty as long as you use really high quality ingredients, because there are not very many of them. We have, obviously, rice. This is, I can't remember, there's two types of risotto rice. You're probably going to end up with arborio, I think is what it's called, or something. Yeah, that's like the most common. There's a slightly higher quality one, but honestly, when I made it with this, I thought it was great, so it doesn't matter. And then white wine, an onion. The most important ingredient is whatever broth you're going to use. You can make your own, or you can buy really high quality broth. Those are the options. And did I say onion already? And then butter and Parmigiano Reggiano, 24 months, and saffron, which is red flour stuff that's really expensive. We'll have to do a little bit of prep with this, but over here we have our setup, basically, because everything goes a certain way. This stuff, I guess I can already do it, goes in this pot right here, just like that. This needs to be warm, or hot actually. It should be like just basically simmering while we make the risotto in this pot. So this is the rice pot, and this is the onion pot. And that will all make more sense in a moment. The first thing we need to deal with is the butter. For this, we will need to make a new kind of butter. We're going to clarify part of this. Just going to slice off a chunk, maybe like something like this, maybe. That should be enough. And then, since we're at it already, I'm also going to put some right here into this pot for the onions. This goes in the microwave. And that should be all the butter we need for now. And so, with this butter, I'm going to actually put it in the freezer, believe it or not, because we need to be nice and cold for when we add it to the risotto later. So our butter looks like this, which means that we can take a little spoon and just scrape off all this foam, just like that, and chuck it in the sink, because we don't need the foam. That's good enough. Goes into our rice pot. Now we can start turning things on. So I'm going to turn on the broth, medium high, it just needs to simmer. I'm also going to turn on the onion pot, and that I'm going to put on high, and I'm going to wait with the rice pot because we need to do some stuff with the onion first. The onion needs to get chopped nice and fine. The butter is ready, so I'm going to put in at least half of the onions, get that started. Turned it on a little prematurely, perhaps. Turn that down now. So we actually just want to like barely simmer these, or like barely make them cooked through. So the onions are quite tender, they're on a really low heat. And now we're going to put just a splash of wine in there. And that is basically going to cook the entire time that we're making the risotto. and make the onions nice and soft and buttery and sweet and acidic, which is lovely. I'm going to say 85 grams of rice per person, which brings us to 170, if I'm not mistaken. Pot is hot, so right in with the rice into the butter. And that, we're roasting the rice right now, basically. So we're going to stir this up with the hot pot until we see them turning quite translucent. You can already see, like, this rice is no longer perfectly white. You can see that it's starting to be translucent. That means we're basically done. And now we can do the fun part, just pouring in more wine. Just about like that. And now we're gonna basically cook this until the wine is gone. Okay, this is looking quite nice. And so, bring some broth over here and just spoon in some broth. And since that's already hot, it's already boiling again. And that's it, basically. Now we're just going to repeat the process of adding broth until it's kind of cooked in, until the rice is done. To incorporate the saffron, we're actually going to first put it right in with some broth. Just a little bit more than that. And this is half a gram, which means we can use probably all of it. Yeah, why not? And then just stir it in. It's already turning very nice and yellow. Saffron broth is going in. Am I spilling it all? No. Lovely. Hopefully I didn't end up with too much saffron in there. We'll find out. Indeed we will. So I just tried the rice, and it is not hard anymore. It's not like perfectly done yet, but it's getting very close. So at this point, we're going to, I'm going to turn the heat off actually, and add in our onions that have been cooking here this whole time. I think this is going to need to be a little bit saucier, so just add a little bit more broth. Our butter is nice and cold from the freezer, and I'm just going to kind of cut a couple little chunks. Kind of like this. And just stick those in there. And a little bit more. And that's going to help kind of make it nice and creamy. The butter will emulsify the sauce and be nice and buttery, just like we like it. Already looking pretty good, which means we can add our Parmigiano Reggiano. Let's start with that. Very beautiful. Let's see if it tastes like that all good. Mmm. Very nice. More Parmigiano Reggiano though. Nice and flat. At this point, you could put some kind of like roast meat on it or something, but this is, I guess, all I had time for right now. So, risotto milanese, at least something like it. It's nice.